a great week for Memphis. They've now won 5 consecutive games. And on Saturday, they went into Houston on the road and knocked off a top 10 team, despite the fact that they didn't have an Emoni Bates. T.O., this was a program, Memphis specifically, that we spent the entire offseason talking about their star power and their famous names and Emoni Bates and Jalen Duran and Penny and Rasheed Wallace and Larry Brown and all of these big name guys. And it turns out the best player on that roster is a 25-year-old transfer from Evansville, who was, I think they were 0-18 in the Valley the year that he left Evansville. That's the dude that is leading the Memphis Tigers basketball program right now. And to be honest, I think when they're at their best, they are playing the way that a 25-year-old transfer from Evansville would want to play. And that's what they did on Saturday.
Well, I mean, here's another truth of the matter, too. You take 5 games. They're on a 6-game winning streak. He's been out for 5 games, right? You fix issues. And those are a lot of backside defensive issues because he struggled with that all year. It's been tough for him all season long to basically understand where he's supposed to be away from the basketball. And that just him showing up at the end of the, or right at the beginning of the regular school year. He didn't get that summer to warm up. There's never been a doubt of that. In the American Conference, not great, guys. We've acknowledged it as much. Good for them for winning 5 in a row. They need to keep it going. They've crept their way back on the bubble. How many good wins are there left, really? You have Houston at home. Win, maybe SMU. I haven't checked the net rankings and all this stuff, or the net ratings.
So
and all
if
this
they
stuff.
if they
so
win
I think
at
it's
Cincinnati,
SMU and Houston.
Yeah, at Cincinnati on Tuesday would be a quad 2 win. At SMU next Sunday would be a quad 1 win, and they get Houston at home, who is still top 5 in the net. They also get Wichita State at home, which right now is a quad 2 win. I don't know how long that's going to end up lasting, but there's basically 2 games they got to get. You got to win at SMU, and you probably need to beat Houston at home. You get those 2, and I think that Memphis is they might be in the tournament, man. After all of everything that we've said about them, they might be in the tournament.
That would be unreal. That'd be a credit to Penny, really. I mean, it would be a credit to Penny of figuring it out, slowing his guys down, you're right. The Evansville guy, he's pretty good. And him being kind of a stabling force for all those young guys really helps. Really, really helps.
Yeah, I'm not buying it. I don't think that this is going to last. I think that they beat a Houston team that's very shorthanded, and it showed. Houston does not have any bench at this point. They've had a couple of huge losses, and they were due for this. They were due to have a tough week, and they had it. That being said, let's look at Memphis. Here's the thing. I give Penny Hardaway some credit here for keeping this thing from totally going off of the tracks because it was trending in that direction about 4 weeks ago. And Landers Nolley has been nothing short of terrific, and I think that that's great. And he has to be for this team to do anything because they don't have a primary ball handler that they can count on. So they need other guys to step up and try to take on those duties. And that's what you have here. But I can't sit here and say, so if the tournament started this morning, just looking at all the bracket projections and looking at where Memphis stands, they help themselves quite a bit.
Your point. I gotta run real quick. Give me 1 second.
Absolutely. They helped themselves quite a bit over the weekend, but they did not do enough, in my humble opinion, for us to be sitting here and saying, yeah, they're a tournament team as it stands right now. They have some more work to do.
Yes.
Now, the problem that I have, Terrence, is that, yes, if they could get those wins that we just talked about at SMU and Houston again, yeah, I think we'd be talking about them as a tournament team. But you can't take losses in other places. And on the offensive end of the floor, they're a little too inconsistent for me to be sitting here and saying that I actually believe it. Like that I actually believe it. And look, we have to talk about tough topics on this podcast. We do not hide behind topics. And the fact of the matter is this. Do I think Memphis could make it? Maybe. Do I trust them to make it? Do I trust them? I don't. No. I don't trust them to make it. And that's my honest opinion. I think it'd be a feel-good story. I hope I eat my words. And if I'm wrong, I will. on this podcast. It's okay to be wrong. And I might be wrong, but I don't trust it, Terrence. I don't trust it to that degree.
Well, here's my to expound on my point about Emoni Bates. They're 5-1 when he doesn't play.
Yeah.
Only loss coming to Tulane, at Tulane, which has been a tough place to play for anybody, not just so that's my only thing. Defensively, that was what they leaned on last season. That's what won them the NIT. Now, without Emoni Bates in there, 5-1 defensively, I'd be interested to see the metrics on how Memphis is defensively without him playing, as opposed to when they are playing. That's my only thing.
Yeah, they're definitely better without him defensively, and honestly, I think that they're probably better offensively without him as well.
They're better as a whole without him. Because he's not ready. This should be a learning thing for a lot of people thinking to bring their kids up. Don't do it too quick because it's going to hurt.
I make the comparison between Emoni and Shaden Sharp and look at the way that that's going right now, right? Shaden Sharp is not rushing things. He's going to sit at I don't think Ty Washington's injury is that serious. I talked with someone close to the program that basically said, yeah, it's the same ankle that he rolled against Auburn, and this is the kind of thing that he'll probably be out for. It's going to be a day-to-day kind of a thing, game-to-game kind of a deal with him. You know how sore ankles go, but they're not going to rush Shaden Sharp back. Even if Ty didn't play, I don't think that they would rush Shaden Sharp into the lineup because they're letting him kind of run his own race. Whereas Emoni, if it's felt like everything has been, let's get to the NBA as quickly as possible. Instead of allowing the kid to kind of develop the way that he needs to develop. You should not be a 17. The bottom line is this. You should not be a 17-year-old that's supposed to be a senior in high school being rushed to a conference and to a team at the Division I level to play a position that you've never played before in your entire life. That's just not gonna. This was a recipe for disaster. But I'll tell you this: I do hope that Penny finds a way to get this group into the tournament, because the one thing I will say about this, I don't think Penny knows what he's doing offensively. I think he has a very difficult time kind of scheming up stuff on that end, but he gets his guys to play so damn hard defensively. There is something to be said for the level of defensive effort and execution that team has when they're playing their best on that end of the floor.
Yeah, but let's stay here for a moment. Here's the thing. Shaden Sharp not playing, that's more of a testament to John Calipari than anything. You're not just going to get on the floor if you don't know what the system is. Or also, do you know how hard that is? Mm-hmm. That is so hard to just jump in. It is. It's extremely difficult to just jump in. And when the train's on the tracks, rarely are they picking up passengers along the way, unless you are to a point that you're so talented that there's no choice. But there is a choice at Kentucky still, and I think that's why that situation is what it is. I think for Emoni, I think that this is a really interesting development in the college game overall, because you have G League Ignite and you have Overtime Elite. And that is where those programs influence what's happening here at Memphis, or what has happened here at Memphis. Because Memphis or another big brand school with a big brand coach could theoretically get this type of kid earlier, like Emoni's situation is at Memphis. And there's promises made. So the wrestling that has to happen here, this doesn't win in the college game. It doesn't win in the college game. You want to go make your cash playing for G League Ignite, and you want to fast track yourself to the NBA. Here's the thing. You're not fast tracking to the NBA. Okay? You're either really, really, really good. You're that good. It doesn't matter where you walk into. It doesn't matter what situation you walk into. Don't try to tell me that the 4 different avenues to get to the NBA are that much game changer-esque. Don't try to tell me that one is that much better than the other. And at the end of the day, guys, there's all these programs that have come about. Overtime Elite, G League Ignite, all that good stuff. They're not more proven than what John Calipari or Mike Krzyzewski or Bill Self can do. That is a fact.
Yep, and it's also the branding aspects of it too. Like it's just you're always going to be better off being in the public eye, especially if you're playing well, and than if you are playing for like. Does
I would
anyone know
argue
what
that Bates would have been better in the G League or in the overtime, to where like not as many eyeballs were on him.
the G
Agreed.
League, the G League, not the overtime one is not the. He would have been better off in the G League. The only thing that I
Agreed.
would say about that though is that I think he would have been even more exposed. Simply because
Because physically, like you're playing in the G League,
yeah.
there are some dudes in the G
Oh,
League that
yeah.
beat him to death.
Oh,
Yeah,
you've
so-
got old players. You've got guys that have been around the block forever, guys that are just old and have played the game against anybody. Here's the other thing too, and I've talked with some coaches about this year. And sometimes when guys like us make statements like this, the fans think, well, what are you saying? You're a whistle piece for the coaches. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a whistle piece for the coaches. There's a difference between an excuse and an explanation. I guess I'm on one this morning. Okay, so I'm going to be brief on this one. There's a real thing in the sport. We have all said on this podcast, kids deserve to get their money. Kids deserve to get paid. Go get paid, man. Like, you deserve to get paid. If you can make money off yourself, do it. Do it. Good on you. So I'm not arguing any of that. But it is very real. It is very real that in 2022, for a generation that grew up watching LeBron James, you walk into a gym, if you're a coach, on day one, and the majority of your players believe that they're going to the NBA.
All of them.
Almost everybody. There are a select few that are, real. So, but there's also a factor here where I've heard this from coaches. Oh, he just signed a lucrative NIL deal. He should. Nobody's arguing that. But guys, and if you're a player that listens to our podcast, I'm just going to tell you right now, just because good on you to make your money, you still got to get the other things done. You still got to, that all is a nice supplement. But in terms of playing pro ball for a long time, and this is why we've said kids might benefit more off college, NIL, than they end up doing professionally at the end of the day, because their name might never be bigger than it is in college.
100%.
But don't let that business in college have you peaking so early that then you lose focus of what the greater goal is.
The main thing.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
I was literally about to say that, CEO. The main thing's
I ruined that stuff for you. I talked to an ACC assistant coach the other day, and I'm not going to specify who, but he said, you know what? It's a different time now, because now, like, when kids come in, they're worried. He goes, I've never had to worry about silly shit like this. He goes, now I have to, this kid's worried about his brand and what's going to happen next all the time. He can't just focus on what's here right now. And as a result, he's struggling, and he keeps the main thing. Everything else will take care of itself. That's the hard part about this whole thing.